Pack is whack there.
Man, that was 21-0 against Tennessee. What is going on?
After you recover an onside kick and have a free scoring opportunity?
They're just in disarray. That defense is terrible. Matthews can't get back on the field, and Rodgers is pointing fingers, and I got to believe something's going to happen. I don't know. It's not over because that division's terrible, but something's got to happen. I mean,
if you're McCarthy. He says, true. It's fine. I'm a good coach. We'll just keep going.
I think he was, past tense, a good coach, but I'm not sure he is presently a good coach.
And we'll find out some more answers against at Washington this week.
At Washington and at Philadelphia the week after. So
some people are hopping off that wagon, not even watching the Packers.
Breaking ankles doing it too. Yeah.
We'll talk a little Packers, but we're jumping into the hoops season here.
It is.
So
let's tip it off.
We'll talk a lot of hoops this week on this episode of Extra Points. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Extra Points. John Barry to my left. I'm Eric Schmoldt. We're going to talk politics and religion, I think, this week.
We do a mannequin pose or no?
No, we decided we couldn't do that last week. That was last week.
That was last week.
I think we're probably already on to something else.
All right, fine. Let's get on to it then.
Well, we're going to get on to hoops, but let's put a quick bow on the WIAA fall season because the area stuff is all done.
Yep.
We got football state this week. Unfortunately, Clinton and Badger didn't get it done in the state semifinals, but great runs by both teams just to get there. Congrats to both of them.
Yep.
I was at the Clinton game. It was an exciting game, 42-35, lost to Cedar Grove, Belgium. Kind of faltered a little bit in the second half. Couldn't convert on a 4th and 1, and Cedar Grove, Belgium's passing attack was the real deal, and they'll get a chance for a state championship Thursday at Camp Randall. Franklin will go up in D1, play on Friday night. You saw them play Badger. I think everybody thought Franklin was a state championship caliber team, and they proved it.
Yeah, I think I said in my prediction before the playoffs actually got rolling that I thought there were a lot of good teams in that bracket, but I said there was one great team, and that was Franklin, and they proved me right. But four of the seven teams that I picked to win state are still alive: Amherst, Darlington, Catholic Memorial, and Kimberly with a chance. So
those are the ones y'all went on a pretty thin limb.
I went way out on the line there to pick those 4 teams. Yeah, but it's a lot of good players. I mean, there's going to be a lot. Hunter Johnson, who was named the Football Coaches Association State Player of the Year, running back for Darlington. He's headed to Wisconsin, and he's got some incredible stats. I know the guy that you covered, Weiss from Cedar Grove, Belgium, has got some.
His receiver.
He's got some crazy stats. So there's a lot of good talent at Camp Randall, and surprisingly, this will be the first time I would say in a long time that it sounds like the weather's going to cooperate. Even the early morning games are going to be fairly nice, and that's good to see. Usually everyone's bundled up and it's cold, and fans stay away because they just say, "Well, I'll watch it on TV." But now Thursday and Friday, with the temperatures expected to be in the upper 50s, lower 60s, I think you're going to see a pretty good turnout up there.
You can get up there and head out there before deer hunting season begins Saturday morning. And then congrats to our area swimmers who found the podium. We had a couple of them, led by Janesville Craig's Erin Donegan. Talked about her a little last week, but she got it done. She did what she went up there to do and medaled twice, a 3rd and a 5th. So.
And the race that she got 3rd in set a school record. The girl that won it set a state record. So anytime you lose to the state record holder, you got to be pretty happy. She's only a junior, so look for her back there again next year. And then certainly Danielle Kramer from Melton with a good showing. Freshman from Melton. And then the girl from Whitewater got 5th. Fenshaw was 5th in the 500 free. So a good 2 days for the area athletes. Talked to a couple people up there, and they said parking on Saturday was terrible.
Disastrous.
Was terrible, yes. One guy said that he was close to parking and taking a cab over there. That's how bad it was. So
I'll just park at the mall.
Yeah, or take your boat and park it right behind the University Hospital.
You can rent one of those bikes you can pedal around
yes.
on. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Try
to not do it on a home day, but
no.
You don't get to pick sometimes. So.
No, you don't.
There's no rest period here for us. We go straight into the
hoops.
Winter season, and we shoot this on Tuesday, and then we got games going on tonight. So those results we won't have. As you're watching this, you probably already know whether Craig and Parker lost their opening games, but We'll talk about their seasons a little bit. You talked to both coaches last week. Mm-hmm. Maybe start on the west side with Parker. Everything kind of starts and rolls through Julia Hartwig, the standout sophomore, probably one of the more dominant players in the Big Eight this year. And it'll I think with both teams, there's in the city here, there's question marks that will just need to be answered here throughout the season. And with Parker, it's what's the supporting cast do to make sure it's not just all Julia and she's not trying to do everything.
No, and you and I both agreed on this last week when we talked. I think those are two teams by the end of the year are going to be pretty good. When you look at Parker, obviously it starts with Julia Hartwig, 6'2". Her mother Jenna, who's also the coach, said that she had a very good summer after the knee injury healed up, and looking to elevate her game. And I think the big thing for her is, I think last year as a freshman, kind of afraid to step on toes, especially with the seniors. And a lot of times that freshman doesn't want to come in there and do too much to kind of upset the apple cart. And I don't think she did that. And I think this year you're going to see her take on more of a leadership role. Cam Blazer, another girl that's 6'2". Jenna talked about the fact that she's interested in playing college basketball. She's starting to get some looks. So not many teams can put two 6'2" girls on the court at the same time. And again, I think Parker's going to depend on their guard play. Certainly J.C. Benway, a good athlete, going to have to make some shots and really control the boards and not let teams get out and run on them. And I think if they can do that, again, they may take their lumps early on this year just because there's a lot of inexperience. But I think by the end of the year, as those kids come together, I think Parker will be competitive with everybody. And I think with Craig, great starting point for them. They get Madison Edgewood, who's ranked first in the state in Division II. He's got a really good Division I, Mishkawa, I think it is.
Division III, I think.
Division I. The Stanford girl is, what's her name?
Stella Mashka.
Mashka is the one going to Stanford, and another one, Maestricht, is going to a Division III school. So two good players there on a team that was loaded last year. So I think for the Cougars,
a great starting point is, I don't know exactly who would be describing it as that, because if you're Craig, you're going in there, and they were going in with 0 of their starting 5 returning from last year because Allie Carlson is kind of dinged up here to start the year. So you're kind of starting over a little bit.
Yeah,
obviously there are some players that got some action for the team that went to sectional finals last year, but you're kind of asking a lot of players to step up into a lot bigger roles than they've had in the past.
And I think Carrie Storbakken, Coach Storbakken, said that probably the best overall freshman class he's had, and really likes those kids a lot. He's got 4 of them up on varsity, but again, they're freshmen, and it's going to take some time. And again, Craig might be a team that has some ups and downs beginning of the year, just as you said, as they get acclimated to one another. But I think by the end of the year, I think the Cougars, like the Vikings, are going to be capable. Maybe not Middleton as much, but I think there's not anybody else in the Big Eight that those two teams won't be able to play with.
You might be seeing, here in November, December, a couple of results that make you go, what?
What? Yeah, what? How did that happen?
For either team, really. Yeah. And then, but maybe in February, by then, hopefully you're competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them finished in the top half of the Big Eight.
Really, I would agree.
Even though there are all these question marks.
And again, with that goofy super sectional now, where you've got include, Craig would have been in state under the old format the last 2 years. Instead, they got beat in the sectional finals, and Verona lost a lot. Middleton's loaded. But again, Middleton's
East
one of those.
Seems to be the darling team.
Yeah, and I think Middleton's one of those teams where you and I both seen it. When shots don't go in, I don't care how many guys you bring in and off the court. If you're not making the basket, putting the ball in the basket, it doesn't help you a whole lot. And you got to hope you catch them on a day where shots aren't falling. And certainly Craig, is very capable of beating Middleton. And I think Parker will be by the end of the year. Like I say, once those younger kids get used to that varsity level. And Parker, a good opener for them at Walworth Bigfoot against a team that many feel is probably the prohibitive favorite to win the Rock Valley South. So, 2 good opening nights for those two teams. But like you said, don't put too much into it. Even a loss, don't.
Until 2017,
right?
Once the calendar flips is when we're probably going to really start hoping to see kind of what these teams are
all about.
I think players are going to have to settle into their roles a little bit. Both teams are going to get some players back to maybe 100% off of injuries and things like that once January really rolls around, and then I think we'll really kind of start seeing exactly where these teams are going to go. But sometimes those are the teams that are fun to watch because you see them at the start of the year and you go, man, I don't really know what this team's going to be, and then by the end you're like, okay, this team looks pretty good.
And I think when Carrie Storbakken in the past has had those teams where you just don't have that go-to player, so to speak, with an Al Hughes or a Schonenberger or a Schumacher. Sometimes it's fun to coach those girls because you've got so many options. And I think that's what Carrie will tell you is we can go 9-10 deep and really don't have that big of a drop off, and those kids can score. Whereas Parker, you've got your go-to player with Hartwig, but like you said, you got to find a supporting cast that can take some pressure off her if teams are double and triple teaming her. And again, it comes down to making shots. And again, Jenna talked about she really feels that Cam Blazer is the X factor on that team, and that if she can have a good year and really assert herself, that Parker's going to be okay.
I think too this will be kind of a season where it'll show just kind of how good these programs are that have been entrenched for quite a while now.
Right.
These aren't programs that when you have these question marks to start the season that they kind of fall off.
Right.
Both of these programs have been around long enough and are good enough that they're gonna find a way to be probably in the top half of the league.
Yeah,
even when you have the questions.
Yeah.
And with some of these other programs, when you lose a lot or you don't have
they don't
you don't
really
have all the questions answered,
they don't really
then
rebuild,
you fall off.
They just kind of reload, and like I say, Craig's got a very, very strong freshman class, and I know with Parker, they're still pretty young. I mean, they'll have a couple of seniors in that starting lineup, but the majority of the reserves are going to be underclassmen, and she's got a couple of freshmen up as well. And again, you talked about the injuries with Cam Rosga and Brooke Glassland, both with knee injuries, but she hopes to have them both back before Christmas, and that helps to your depth. And with 4 extra minutes per game being played now, depth is an issue that you got to have. It's an area that if you don't have it, you're going to have some tired kids at the end of the game.
So you talked about Bigfoot as one of the other area teams we'll be keeping an eye on. Obviously, all eyes on Whitewater. Probably looking to make a second trip to state in 3 years unless something goes awry.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely on their goals for sure, and a chance with Miriama to, I would think, to maybe win another one. Even.
Yeah, and they'll get tested early. They get Marshall tonight, which obviously this will go to air after they played, but then they get Stoughton on Friday, and Stoughton's the only one that beat them during the regular season last year. So
you get Edgerton and McFarland, so you'll know kind of where everybody kind of expects them to be the class of the Rock Valley North, but those are the teams that they're going to have to.
And they've owned that.
Beat,
they've owned that conference. I know you touched on it in your preview story. I mean, games haven't been close. I mean, they are just blowing out everybody, and they're going to find out early if that's going to be the case again, because I certainly think Edgerton and McFarland, probably along with Bigfoot in the South, are the 3 best teams that have a chance to play with them and be competitive. And not to say a team like Clinton or somebody couldn't do that, but I really think those 3 teams are the ones that are going to have to, probably the best chance to give them a game.
That's kind of what we're looking at in the girls' basketball scene. The college basketball obviously is kicked off, tipped off, I guess you would say. You don't kick a basketball very often.
Well, sometimes they do.
Stop the
I think
game
Dennis Rodman kicked it once.
Again, a game that was going to be played here tonight after we film, but probably before
people see it.
People see us here. The Badgers getting a big test at Creighton, and kind of a nice test. You want to see them get tested in the non-conference, and they've got a few of them this year, and going up to a place where I think the environment's a little hostile, and I'll be interested to see how the Badgers look. They looked fine in their opener, and
we won't see how they look, but that's okay because we'll be covering games.
Maybe we'll listen to some of it on the radio on the way home.
But no, I think I just looked at the wire had Bronson Koenig, Nigel Hayes, and Ethan Happ all named to the John Wooden watch list for Player of the Year, and you get 3 guys in the same team. That's pretty rare, unless you're Kentucky or something like that, or Duke. So, in that sense, again, I'm not going to make too much out of this tonight, win, lose, or draw. I mean, yeah, you'd like to see them go in and get a win. Creighton's ranked, hostile place to play. I guess it's an arena that's kind of everybody. You're on top of everybody, and But I think with the seniors, with Showalter and Koenig and Hayes and Vito, I think they've been tested. They've been battle tested. They've won some big games on the road in the past, and
I don't think at Creighton was really going to be daunting to them when they walked in.
I don't think they're going to be
bus.
too intimidated after playing at Maryland or the Breslin Center or Assembly Hall or any of those places.
But I like that they're playing Creighton. They got Syracuse on there. I mean, they've got teams that are going to test them.
They do,
before
and that's
the
what
Big
they
Ten
need.
slate
And
rolls
again,
around.
as I say, I'm not expecting them to run the table, but you know what, a loss tonight, as long as they're competitive in that, but. Like I said, I don't put a whole lot of stock into the non-conference schedule, other than I know a lot of it's used to pad your resume and to pile up the wins, and I don't think piling up the wins is going to be a problem for the Badgers this year.
No, it's like a Maui next week,
Yep,
so
they
that'll
do.
be fun for them.
Yeah, tough trip for them to make. Could I cover that possibly?
I don't think it's in the budget.
Okay,
so
all right,
I forgot to
fine.
put in for credentials for
All
you, so
right.
we're going to have to pass this time
All right.
around. Let's quick touch on UW-Whitewater because the basketball seasons for them get started this week. You can kind of read more about that in the paper, but they've both got teams. I mean, let's be honest, it's UW-Whitewater. They basically just expect their teams to make the national tournaments, to
every year
contend for national and WISC championships every year, and I don't think this is any different. I think the men's team with Pat Miller is looking to bounce back from a rare kind of off year last year, and the Warhawks women's team kind of reloaded with a nice freshman group, talking to Carrie Carollo, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how that group does, but I would think the talk of the town over there is the football team as it gets rolling here in the football playoffs, and they open with Lakeland
College.
The Muskies.
Go to the chalkboard and write down the score of that baby, because that'll be about 63 to nothing.
70-7 last time.
But again, the Warhawks don't want to say coasted down to the end of the regular season, but certainly, didn't play their best the last couple of weeks. Certainly,
but the injuries too, and so I think it's. You hope you have one of these blowouts so that you can just try to rest people as much as you can.
Well, and that's just it. There's no reason they shouldn't be able to name the score against Lakeland, and hopefully, if Patterson's got to sit out again, you can rest him another week and get ready for the second round game. And I think they'll be okay. I don't worry about the Warhawks just because it's the postseason. I mean, we've come to expect nothing but the best from them, and with Mount Union losing, you avoid having to play them until the Stag Bowl if you can both get there, which. It'd be nice if Mount Union didn't get there and the Warhawks did, just because it's Mount Union and everyone's tired of them. But
I think most years people go, "Oh, Whitewater's in our bracket."
Yeah.
But this year it's like, maybe this is the year we can get them.
And I think the other two WIC teams are good challenges. And teams that can play with Whitewater, and you throw in St. John's out of Minnesota and some of those other teams that are in that bracket, and the Warhawks going to have their work cut out for them.
They wouldn't see Platteville or Oshkosh till the national semifinals.
Right,
so.
and it'd be at home. So, that's why you win your conference and go undefeated, is so you can play at Perkins Stadium where the Whitewater, where the Warhawks are awful tough to beat.
Number one in the country right now, because after that Mount Union loss. So.
Sorry, Purple Raiders.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not at all.
Speaking of expecting teams to be great every year, the Packers, we'll just touch on them real quick again. They 3 in a row they've lost. They've looked real bad the last 2 weeks, and it's doomsday around here, it seems like. And now they still got 2 road games in a row, starting at Washington, which is above 500 team this year, and I think they've won 5 of their last 6 games, or they haven't lost 5 because there's a tie in there somewhere, but like 4-1-1 in their last 6, so pretty darn good. Redskins team.
And the odd thing is McCarthy talked about 2 weeks prior when they lost, and there wasn't a lot of energy to the Colts, and then he said it wasn't that. The energy was there. We played hard, but then they come out against Tennessee, and the first play of the game, the guy goes 75 yards for a touchdown. So you go from a kickoff return the week before to a 75-yard run, and you look up in the first quarter, and it's 21-0, and you're thinking, this is Tennessee. They're not playing the Patriots. They're not playing a world beater. I mean, Tennessee had won, what'd they say, 5 home games in the last 4 seasons or something like that.
Against the Jaguars.
Just crazy. and the Packers just came out defensively and just laid an egg. Marcus Mariota looked like,
Joe Montana.
He did. He looked great. I mean, he looked, nothing against Aaron Rodgers, but he looked better. And, if that's the way it's going to be, and Rodgers, he started the finger pointing at receivers and that, you just wonder if there's some turmoil in that locker room.
Well, I think there is, and they talked last week too about how there's not really any vocal leaders, and it's like, well, how on a 53-man roster you not have anybody that can step up besides Mike Daniels and say anything?
Yeah, and I would think as a quarterback for the tenure that he's been there, that Rodgers would be one of those
guys.
Well,
and even if you're not that guy usually, sometimes you have more of a voice then, because then when you do talk, because people will say, oh, he doesn't usually say anything. You got to find something, because you can't just all walk around all closed mouthed and
people
just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
People want to jump off the bandwagon. They want McCarthy fired or Dom Capers fired, and that's fine and dandy, but does that solve the problem?
Not for this year, right?
Whatever's going on this year has got to be worked out internally, because you're not going to fire a Super Bowl winning coach in the middle of a season when you're 1 game under 500 and you're still a game out of first place. I mean, that's not going to happen, people. So don't.
Packers don't do that really anyway.
And I've read it on Twitter. I read it on Facebook. Fire Capers, get rid of McCarthy. He's got to go. And whether I believe it or not, which, maybe his time has passed him, it's not going to happen. It won't happen until after the season.
We'll see if they can avoid 4 in a row.
Right.
Kirk Cousins has been playing pretty well. The Redskins have been looking all right.
It's a night game, and
I said. They're lucky the Redskins are playing so well and have a decent record. They might have been flexed right on out of there.
Yeah, you're right.
So they get another primetime game for now. and we'll see what happens. That's all we got for this week. Got to hit the road.
Yep.
Just some basketball games.
Looking forward to it. Yep.
Talk about the boys' side of things next week, and probably maybe some hockey coming up.
Yep.
The winter season is upon us already.
It's here.
Even though it's not Thanksgiving quite yet.
Not yet. Close.
Good luck to all you deer hunters out there, and hopefully we get some big bucks. Send us a pic if you want.
Yes.
Maybe we can show it on next week's Extra
Right.
Points. You could also let us know what you think of the show by leaving a comment on the website or YouTube or Twitter. You can find us at GazetteExtra.com, and you can email
Twitter,
us at sports@GazetteExtra.com.
YouTube.
You can. Here we go. Did we do all of them? That's about all of them.
That's
right?
about all of them. Yeah.
So,
That's enough.
thanks to Angela for shooting the show, Kevin McLeod for the tunes, and we'll see you here. We'll think about what we're
Next
thankful
week,
for.
yeah.
We'll talk about what we're thankful for.
Be safe, everybody. Go Bucky.